Welcome back. So yesterday, former President Thabo Mbeki and former Minister of Justice Bridget Mabandla sought to intervene in a landmark constitutional damages case. This comes after 25 survivors and families of apartheid victims filed an application in January seeking constitutional damages, alleging political suppression of apartheid-era cases referred to the National Prosecuting Authority after the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Mbeki and Mabandla deny any political interference, calling the application defamatory. Judgment has been reserved and is expected to be delivered at the weekend. Let's now bring in Dorothy Calata, one of the families involved in this crucial legal battle. A very good morning to you, Dorothy. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. At the first instance, this intervention by former Minister Bridget Mabandla and former President Thabo Mbeki. On the point that was raised now, right towards the end of that package by Zianda, the judge asked, I think, a very important question. Don't you think that their version would help aid your case that you've brought against the state? And what's your response to that?
Good morning, Alden, and good morning to your listeners as well. It's very hurting. Let me say that it's a very sad state of affairs that in the first place the president could actually even go to court. I think for the processes that he is now busy with, because I feel almost as if one can quote Shakespeare and say he protested too much, If one actually looks at what transpires here, is that the president, we all know that he actually invented denialism in this country. And it is something that I actually thought of as very narcissistic in a way, We have got history of how he denied HIV, how there was denialism in the arms deal, how he actually did not implement the recommendations of the TRC. And that has put us actually where we are today. And to want to try and change that narrative, I think is a very, very sad state of affairs. It's not even rewriting history, it's overriding history, overriding processes that have taken place. So to answer your question, I would say, why are we where we are in the very first place? All the processes that have been launched thus far were in response for what has actually taken place in the first place.
Yeah, and I know there's this constant reference that is being made to what Vusi Pikoli had told the Supreme Court of Appeal, and this is, of course, is the former NDPP head, that under the Mbeki administration that there was the suppression of apartheid-era crimes. And considering how far back that allegation was made, what do you make of how the Thabo Mbeki now, as well as Bridget Mabandla, has responded now, considering once again that this was a matter that was raised a couple of years ago in the Supreme Court of Appeal's judgment?
That's exactly the question, Alden. Why now? I mean, it was raised a couple of years ago. It was raised by people who were at the time within their offices. Why did he not raise the issue with them at the time? Why is he doing it now? And why is he raising it like now with us as families and the Human Rights Foundation and our lawyers, when he had ample opportunity to raise it at the time? That's why I'm saying, he is really trying to change a narrative here, and that narrative stands. He is responsible for, to a large extent, my understanding is that he is. And I feel that he should just have let the processes continue, and we go to the Commission of Inquiry. And as we go to the Commission of Inquiry, and he get his opportunity there to clear his name, because also some other witnesses will be called. It's not only him. It's not only Bridget Mabandla is going to be called. Other people will be called there as well. We don't see them protesting. Why is he only protesting now? He's had ample opportunity to protest before. He didn't, and that's why we are saying that it is almost as if he wants to rewrite the narrative here. And the truth is that he is a master of denial. He invented denialism in this country. And we are where we are because there are a lot of things that happened under his administration that were never really addressed. And I was almost appalled yesterday when the judge, sort of raised to say, but, his reputation. And I was thinking, what reputation? My father died for this country. He also has a reputation for us to uphold. We are not just strangers, We are the offspring of people who fought for. We had the 40th commemoration for my father and them. And during that commemoration service, I was really, really excited about hearing the plans that my father and his comrade has had for.
Hi, Dorothy, are you still there? Dorothy, can you yes? Okay, let's see if we can reestablish that line there to Dorothy Calata. She's the eldest daughter of Fort Calata, on their reaction to this application that has been brought by former President Thabo Mbeki as well as the former Justice Minister Bridget Mabandla to intervene on these constitutional damages application that has been brought by the victims of apartheid-era crimes as well as their families. I just quickly, Dorothy, want to take you to the commission that has been established, of course, being headed by Justice Sisi Kampempe. Do you think that that commission will be able to get to the bottom of that question of political interference in the suppression of these apartheid-era prosecutions?
We are hoping so. Otherwise, we, as the families, would probably not have supported that decision. We are hoping that the commission would do that. I was actually thinking this morning to say, in this country of ours, all of us are actually participant observers because everybody is linked to the next person. Everyone is linked to somebody. But at some point, we are hoping that the commission is going to have the necessary objectivity and the ethical integrity that is desired so that it can be able to achieve the desired results. And of course, we know historically what happens to recommendations of commissions in this country, but we've always functioned on hope as these families. And thus far, let me say, for the past year and a half, I think our president has come on board, and we are hoping then that the commission will yield the desired results, yes.
Yeah, I think another thing that is going to come up perhaps maybe in that commission of inquiry, considering this constitutional damages case that you have brought as well, is the recommendation that was made back then by the TRC Commission in terms of reparations that should be paid to the victims of apartheid-era crimes as well as their surviving families. And the decision then that was taken by the then president of the country, Thabo Mbeki, to go at an amount far less than what was being recommended at the time. Do you think that that could help also soothe some of the wounds of apartheid-era crime victims and their families?
We had several meetings with the lawyers where we had to change particular prayers for the constitutional damages, proposed when we wanted to propose that. And it went on, I think, for about a month, where we actually have desired for the constitutional damages to be handled separate from the Commission of Inquiry. Unfortunately, we eventually had to bend for what government was proposing to us. But to answer your question, we would like to remember our family members who were dismembered. we would like to address the trauma that is continually perpetuated in our country, even including the perpetuation of trauma now with the reactions of like President Thabo Mbeki. We are hoping that when we can be able to afford to commemorate our members, to remember them in the desirable manner, for young children to be able to get the necessary education, for our parents to get the necessary health care, the wounds will be better. Nothing takes away the trauma of you losing a loved one, more especially when you learn how violently they were taken away from you. And when you learn of the value that they would give to this country that absolutely lacks leadership at the moment. So nothing can take that pain away, but at least when there are means to live moving forward, it can be better. And we are not speaking for our families now. I think we've grown, we've advanced even in terms of standing up for ourselves. But there are those families whose voices are really, really being silent, people who really feel forgotten and out.
Yeah.
And it's for them that we feel that we need to keep on fighting, so that those reparations eventually can be at a humanely level, an amount that somebody can really say, I can live with. Because if my father was alive, my mother wouldn't have had to struggle with 30,000 for 40 years.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So yes, we are hoping that, the constitutional damages case can actually become a success and even probably go beyond. I mean, if we've got a decent government, they would also feel to say, what is 163 million rands for commemorations and things? Why not add?
Yeah.
Give
All right.
each family a decent amount so that they can live on.